Good morning. Good morning. Good people. Here we are once again. Once more into the breach, where we'll close the wall with our English dead. Right. So I have a new setup in the room. And it's pretty bright. Let's see if this does anything. Not really. Well, let's see if I can. Today is G.school. I don't want to turn that monitor off because it seems to do other things when it goes off. This is just too bright. Well, maybe that's better. Okay, let's get started. We'll take that out in editing, right? Right, you are. That light a little bit. Okay, well, good morning, fellow humans. Today is Sunday, December 28th, 2025. My name is Edward Bevilacqua. This is Department of Career Services. Our thing today is G.school. And let's get right into it. It's also day 7 of week 4. What does that mean? That means we've gone through this whole book once again. We've gone through this whole thing, 28 TED Talks, TED-ish, TED-like talks. We've done that. And today we're going to end up with the most important one, David Foster Wallace. His famous graduation speech entitled, "This is Water." So we're going to talk about that. And then tomorrow we start over again, but here we go. So our advice from an 80-year-old today is beware of the person who has nothing to lose. Beware of the person who has nothing to lose. Is that good advice? I would say, yeah, it is good advice. So I'm taking my heater mug, my mug that keeps things hot. Just hard to find the button. There we go. My new high-tech mug. Put in my little cup that has my olive oil in it, though. Okay, beware of the person with nothing to lose. Right. Why? Because they have nothing to lose. They're operating at a stage 1 tribe stage 1 level. David Logan. Life sucks. I have nothing to lose. It's beyond my life sucks. It's life sucks. I have nothing to lose, so you have nothing to gain. If I'm going down, I'm taking you with me. Beware of that person. Thing to do is avoid them. Right. Why? Because they have nothing to lose. And the problem is when there are people who do have things to lose, but they don't perceive that they do because they're on a bad streak. And maybe the streak has lasted too long. Okay, so that's advice from an 80-year-old. Seth Godin, it's a bargain. It's a bargain. At some point, anything we buy feels like a bargain. Something needs to be worth more than it costs or we wouldn't buy it. So what makes what you offer a bargain? Is it that you've lowered the price or have you increased the value? Right. Really? Yeah. Did you lower the price or increase the value? I think that's about good. Gotta take my little stickies so I can see them and they can remind me, but they're not in the way of the Cameroon. Okay, so day 7, week 4, last of it. We started 4 weeks ago with who am I and why do I behave the way I do? We learned about how our brain operates on a neuroscience level, what the cells do, neurotransmitters, chemicals in our brains, how they cause us to feel, and how our reticular activating system is constantly scanning all information available to us to support our beliefs. And our self-identity is made up of our self-beliefs. That's it. And we learned if you change your self-beliefs, you change your self-identity. All right, okay. And then we learned, but you can't do it on your own. You need other people. And when you get to now back to our theme, beware of the person with nothing to lose. They often believe they don't need other people. I don't need anyone else. I can do it on my own. I know what I'm doing. Leave me alone. I already know. But you can't do it on your own. And if you look around, the most successful people are the people who have the largest networks of people. And you can get to the extreme level of Elon Musk. Where does he make his money? Yeah, Tesla. Yeah, the solar things on the houses, the phones, the satellites, the rocket ships, the flamethrowers that aren't flamethrowers, the things like that people are involved in all of the time. Amazon, Jeff Bezos, Oracle, Larry Ellison, software, the 2 guys from Google, that makes up the top 5 guys. Elon Musk, I think Page or Brin, Oracle, Ellison, Jeff Bezos, and Brin or Page, the other Google guy. 2 Google guys, 1 Oracle guy, Elon Musk and Amazon. They touch the lives of billions of people every day. Nobody made money unless they had customers. Somebody bought something from them, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what we learned last week. Now this week we learned, okay, good. You know how your brain works. You have other people that want to help you. Let's move forward. But don't screw the pooch. You got to know when to change course. You got to know. And then we learned from Lincoln, we learned from Shackleton, crisis leadership, Marcus Aurelius, we learned stoicism, perfect leadership, and then we learned pragmatic leadership through stoicism again. And Ignatius of Loyola. Okay. Today, it's David Foster Wallace. Who is David Foster Wallace? Who is that Cadwallader? Well, he was, let's see, it's probably about 20 years now, maybe longer. Yeah, about 20 years. He was thought of as the next Hemingway, the next F. Scott Fitzgerald, the next great American author, male, great American author. His big book was Infinite Jest. And yes, it was a big book. I think like 1,100 pages, including footnotes of fiction. Great prose style, great style of writing. He gives a graduation speech at Kenyon College, liberal arts college, I think in the Midwest, Kansas or something like that. I don't know. And he really nails it. So we watched the version that has, I don't know, too hard to get there from here, has a lot of millions or hundreds of thousands of views. And it starts off with two fish are swimming along and a big fish is coming. And as they pass each other, the big fish says to the young fish, "Morning, boys, how's the water?" And then he swims away. And then a short while later, one of these little fish says to the other one, "What the hell is water?" And then David Foster Wallace goes off from that point. And when I say goes off, he goes down that rabbit hole, down the thing to what is water. When you're so engulfed in the thing, you don't see it. Just like fish are not aware of water. We aren't really aware of oxygen. We take it for granted. We're taught about it. But he's talking about in our behavior, in the way we treat other people. And he calls it our default setting. And he gets to the point of saying part of the value of an education is you can recognize that you have this default setting and you can decide to keep it or to change it. But it is there. And we also, everybody worships something. It could be, and then he'll say JC, Allah, the Wiccan mother god. It could be something like that. And if it's that, good, because that is the thing that keeps you moving forward. But on the other hand, it could be your looks. And if you worship beauty, he says you'll die 1,000 deaths before they plant you in the ground because you'll feel you're never attractive enough. Could be money. If you worship money, you'll feel you don't have enough and you're always going to be chasing it. If it's intelligence, same thing. We all worship something, and we should choose to worship the important things, the good things, the things that pull us forward. The unfortunate thing, the ironic thing is that David Foster Wallace committed suicide at a young age. I think he was in his mid-30s, late 30s. He had mental health problems that were being treated with medication, but the problem was, he might have been manic depressive, I don't know. But the problem was when he took the medication, he could not write. If he didn't take the medication, he could write. The colors were extremely bright. In fact, oftentimes either too bright or too dark. And in the end, he just couldn't, the choice of not being able to write or going through this extreme pain and agony and anguish, he could no longer do it. He had to succumb to that. And it's too bad. And I think it's a lot of it had to do with distractions in his life, at the point where he became popular, well-known. Everybody wanted something from him. Or he had the belief everybody wanted something from him. And to an extent, that was true. If he wanted to do a talk show, he could call his agent and say, I want to do this. If he wanted to do that, he could call and say, I want to do that. And then sitting in his little room, reading, writing, trying to write, have a lot of distractions. Right? Because there's always the, what if I want a chocolate chip cookie right now? And part of his ability to write was to go very deep. So if he was talking about chocolate chip cookies, he could probably write for 40, 50 pages on everything around the chocolate chip cookie, the cookie itself, the way I feel eating it the way the person baking it might feel. He might do it 5 different ways of, well, I had it, Betty the baker wasn't feeling well today because her husband had a rough night, because the son was crying, because the son got beat up at school, because he didn't have a bicycle, because the dad got fired from his job, and the bicycle he brought home from the used store had a flat tire, because the dad was in such a hurry to get the bicycle, he didn't properly check it out. And even though the tires were inflated when he got it, 6 hours later, it was flat again, because the owner of the store was kind of a shyster kind of guy and had an attitude of, it's your problem, because when he was a little kid, and then you get the idea of how David Foster Wallace would write. But interesting, all the way down, driving all the way down, pulling you in. So 1,000-page book, Infinite Jest, is something that you read, you love, and I did it. I read a 1,000-page novel. That's like 5 books that I normally read. And so all of that was there, and he killed himself. Because for him, it just didn't matter. Didn't matter. The life is he didn't have meaning and purpose. It didn't feel like it mattered to him, meaning or purpose. The pain was too great, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we collectively lost one of the good ones, but we have the ability to listen to his video, and they made a movie about him. And I think it was a good little tiny snapshot of a couple days in the life of him. On my recollection is Rolling Stone magazine was doing a story on him, so they sent a writer out who stayed with him a couple days, following him around, learning his life and how his life was changed by David Foster Wallace. And he had the little cassette tapes of their recordings. And so, all right, well, here we are at Sunday. No, it's not Sunday. It's Sunday, not someday, Sunday. It's the day of the sun, the light in the sky. It is the way, the truth, and the life. No, it's not that. Okay, good. So, so it's Sunday, the Lord's Day. If you go back and just do a little Google search, you don't even have to do AI, you do a Google search and you find out the history of the term. It's from the earliest Christians. And it was to commemorate the day of the resurrection. The Lord's Day and the Sabbath, if you go back and look at the history, 2 different things. The Lord's Day is not the Sabbath. And you see the Lord's Day mentioned in Revelation. It is not a different way of saying the Sabbath. Go back in history, they understood the Lord's Day was the day Jesus was raised. It was on Sunday. Okay, so what does that mean? Nothing. Today is the Lord's Day. It's not the Sabbath. It is the first day of the week in commemoration of the resurrection of Jesus. And no matter what your Christian faith, you have to agree. You don't have to, but we would all agree, without the resurrection, there is no Christianity. If Jesus did not come back from the dead, we would not be Christians today. So if you want to commemorate the Sabbath, good for you. You want to commemorate the Lord's Day, good for you. The other Christians take the position of Jesus was the fulfillment of what came before him. And just as some religions follow some of the laws of Moses, but not all of them, because the answer is because Jesus, those were fulfilled in Jesus. We don't have to follow those rules anymore. They're fulfilled in Jesus. And you could say the same thing, that regarding the Sabbath, but it doesn't matter. That's unimportant. Today is the Lord's day. Go out, make something happen, keep it holy. Go to church, join a community, be with like-minded people, and we will see you tomorrow morning, day 1, week 1. And cut.